Porter. Alan, you're highlighting a great business today, aren't you, as our guests?
Absolutely. I've known these gentlemen for almost two years now, and they show you how to build a business. And Al, the good looking one, is he's done this before, and he's made a tremendous amount of money. He wants to show people how to do this.
All right, well, fantastic. So, guys, what do you do?
Go ahead. I'll let you take the first one.
Let me take the first one. Well, if you ask me, what I do is I mentor entrepreneurs. As a 23-year-old kid, somebody approached me and said, "Would you like to make more money?" As I'm working in manufacturing, making 30,000 a year. And I said, "Well, frankly, who the heck wouldn't?" So they said, "Hey, why don't you come to this meeting and learn about, see an opportunity?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I'll go." And they talked about things that were over my head in the financial service world. But what I heard was we show people how to get more for less. I said, "Okay, well, that's a good start. I understand that." And then they said to me, "Neil, you could make six figures working in this business as an entrepreneur." Now that rung my bell. That got my attention because, as a 23-year-old, I was always looking to get in business. I had no money. I didn't come from money. So where else was I going to go in business? I wasn't buying a franchise anytime soon. So when I heard show people how to get more for less and you could make six figures, I said, I got to get involved. So I did. And, my first year, I made 7,000 bucks part-time. And my second year, though, I started paying attention. I made 60,000, which was double my full-time income. And from that point on, I never looked back. It's been six figures and multiple six figures all the way. And it's all because of mentoring people on how to be successful in our business. So it's not about products, it's about people. Okay. Um, so that kind of sums it up, I guess.
Okay.
Well, I see you're part of Freedom Equity Group. What is that?
So Freedom Equity Group is an IMO. It was started early 2000s by three gentlemen, Ron Blumenkemper, Ron Petrinovich, and a guy named Bill St. Clair. And that wasn't the first company they had together. They actually started another one a number of years ago called National Marketing Alliance. And part of the dream, so to speak, with Freedom Equity Group is it's not unlike other IMOs that are out there in terms of the life and annuity business, but what they did was they set something that
Andrew, before you go on, explain to the audience what an IMO is.
an IMO is just a marketing organization. So it's not a direct insurance carrier or anything like that. It's just a company that focuses on marketing, and there's a certain slew of products that are utilized in that system. And there's a number of those that exist out there. Some have been around for a really long time. Oldest one, in my opinion, is called Primerica now, which was A.L. Williams back in the day. Um, but one of the things that really attracted people to Freedom Equity Group was an exit strategy. Because a lot of people and insurance producers across the country, their biggest thing is what do you do if you stop writing your own business?
Hmm.
Because eventually, not that you're going to run out of people to talk to, there's a lot of people in the world, but eventually you're not going to be able to sign your name on every single piece of business that comes through the door. So what Freedom Equity Group did was say, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to show you a system to help leverage other people's time, and you can build a big organization. And then eventually we're going to sell this opportunity, and we're going to give 50% of that sale proceeds to the agents who built it in the field. Well, at first that was an idea. It's like, yeah, okay, sure. And then it happened. In 2020 during COVID, when some businesses were struggling because of the shutdown. Well, we had already been prepped and ready to go for a digital world in our industry, in our system. So we had a 32% growth in that year, which allowed for Freedom Equity Group to sell 30% of the organization or the company to a carrier called Fidelity and Guarantee Life. Well, that resulted in about $8.5 million being paid out to the agents in the field. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of people who qualified to participate in those proceeds. Well, once it happened, now everybody's like, whoa, this is real. So the growth was even more staggering than 32% year over year. And then about a year and a half ago, the other 70% was purchased by Fidelity and Guarantee, which totaled about $85 million paid out to the agents who helped build the company. Now, the biggest benefit there is Freedom Equity Group still exists. Fidelity and Guarantee just bought the model, the business model, the marketing strategy, because all of our growth is natural. We don't pay for leads. We don't cold call. We work everything naturalized. So the markets, the conversations that we're having are extremely easy to have. Even I don't know Neil. Neil, you know Alan. All right. So now we're getting to speak, and I didn't have to dial for dollars, so to speak.
Right. And that's very smart, because the networking of an introduction to somebody is a much better, where I say, I'd like to introduce you, and you personally get that introduction versus of a cold lead.
Absolutely.
So much more powerful, because of know, like, and trust. You don't need millions of leads. You only need qualified, really good leads.
Right.
Exactly.
And that changes the game for sure. How long have you guys been in business?
Freedom Equity Group since 2002, officially as a company. I've been in the financial business 40 years, actually, since I was 23. I started in that A.L. Williams Primerica company and then moved on and became independent after that. Met Ron Blumenkemper in 2000, and we did some work together in the securities industry. And then we, went separate ways for a little while, and I rejoined him in 2012 because he had a mission. And his mission was, let's build a company where we can share it with the salespeople who help us build it, as Andrew just pointed out. I believed him. Now, at the time, I lived in Rhode Island. And he said, Al, do you realize the business you're building in Rhode Island, you can fit Rhode Island in Houston 6.5 times. Once you move to Texas, and I thought about it, and I said, he said, make me an offer. And he did, and it was perfect. So we moved to Texas 11 years ago and just exploded the business here in the Texas area. Because, here's the thing, Neil. In today's economy, these are numbers you hear all over the news. 60% of America are living paycheck to paycheck, right? I mean, we just had a shutdown, and half of those people couldn't last 2 paychecks, meaning with no paycheck. So when you look at opportunity, it's like, well, where are you going to go, right? I mean, unless you go to your boss and say, I need a 30-40% raise, or you find a way to get in business where you can control your own destiny, where you're going to go. Okay. Now, there's a lot of companies out there, people try networking and all that there. But what I found is that the financial service business is going to be here forever. It's not going out of business. It's not a fad. It's not a diet plan. And I don't have anything against any of those programs. Some of them are really good. But the financial business, you're learning potentially a new career. And the beauty of what we do is we let you start part-time. So Neil, if I were talking to you and you said, well, geez, I really could use some extra money. Well, okay, Neil, work with me. Let me show you how this works. You know people I don't know. You introduce me to those people, and I will teach you the business and help you transact the business, which is really like an adult game of show and tell. That's really what it is. We educate them and they go, yeah, I want that. And it's a done deal. And what happens in the process, you're learning in what we call field training, meaning we train you even though you don't know the business. Now you might say, well, do I need a license out? Yeah, anybody can get a license. It might take you 2 or 3 weeks to get a license. And it's a decision, Neil, right? It's a decision people make at different points of their lives. Nobody comes out of college, if they went to college, with a license, okay? You make a decision whether you're 23 like I was, or you're 55 or 60 to say, you know what? I want to get involved in this business. And that's what I think has made us really unique. We're not the typical captive agency where You work for us. We own all the clients. We own all the business. We're just the contrary. We want to be captivating, not captive. And you own your business. So you decide to leave us, retire, whatever it is, you're going to continue to get paid on the business you put in. So it's a really great place to be.
It sounds like it. All right.
Well, what kind of people are you looking for?
Well, truthfully, the easy answer is anybody, but if you want to make it really more specific, it's anybody who is determined to change their lives in different ways. To somebody, making an extra $2,000 to $3,000 a month would change their life. And in this industry, that's not that difficult to do, especially with the system that we have. But then you'll come across people who say, well, I want to make an extra 5,000 to 6,000 a month. Okay. It's the same system. They're just going to put more effort behind the process. And then you have people who really want to take the business full speed and make this their primary thing, where they're making upwards of 10 plus thousand a month off of building a business that pays you in a residual basis. Because ultimately in this industry, the key to the long lasting or the legacy creation is residual income. It's not personal production, which is something that most people in this business and whatever realm you're in, it's hard to find a scenario where you can maximize the efficiency of residual income.
Yeah. So that's a great question, Alan. And in reality, there's people from all different walks of life, right? And nobody comes with a tag on their shirt that says winner or I just want to get by, right? We don't
Right.
know is the real answer, right? We don't know who's got the goodies, if you will, inside to want to be an entrepreneur. So we're looking for people that obviously are motivated, want to change their lives. People, most people don't like their job or they don't like their boss, or they certainly don't like their pay, and they're looking for a way out. We just give them an olive branch. Now, we don't do it for them, but we provide a format and a system whereby they have a chance to be successful. After that, it's up to them. So, I mean, Alan, I know you're a veteran, so thank you for your service. But I also want to say this here, what the Army or the Marines do or the Navy is they have a criteria, a basic criteria for you to be eligible to be part of the armed services. Okay. After that, they don't know what you're going to do. You may go to boot camp and ring the bell the first day and say, I can't do this here. Or you may go on to become a five-star general. Well, that's not up to the interviewer. That's up to the individual.
Correct.
And we run our business the same way. We don't push ropes. We lead them to where they could be successful, but it's up to them to say, yeah, I really want this. I really want to change my life. And I can tell you this here, one last point on this. I never woke up in the middle of the night dreaming about being in the financial service business. I mean, I thought about being financially independent and what that would look like and being in business for myself, control my own. I thought about all that. Not once did financial services come in the picture, but then I was introduced to a concept that made sense and it seemed simple and it seemed like an avenue for me and literally hundreds of other people that I've talked to over the years that have joined me in this mission. So,
Yeah.
like I said, it's a great place to be.
So how much can someone earn? You kind of gone deeper into that already, but how much can someone earn? And just kind of go deeper. What somebody based on if they want to do this part time, full time, it just all depends.
That's great. Andrew, let me take this one. Um, first of all, you can make whatever you want to make. So, part-time, if you said, look, I can put in, 8 to 10 hours a week, you can easily make, two or $3,000 a month part-time once you're trained. And that may be enough for you to put your kids in private schools, take adequate vacations, fund your retirement that you don't have right now, pay off bills, whatever. Years ago, I met a guy that said, look, remember back in the day, and Neil, you're probably a lot younger than I am, but you used to have those big box TVs. Now you can buy a flat screen TV, for
I
300.
remember the box TV.
Remember the box
I'm
TV?
52. I'll be 53, but I remember the box TV.
Well, I had this big box TV in my house, but I had one guy say to me one time, all I want to do is make enough money to buy a big screen TV. I said, well, how much money do you think you need to do that? He said, well, for what I want, probably about 20,000. Well, as would have it, when he made 20,000, he quit.
Oh my God.
He bought his TV. That's what he wanted. Okay. I mean, I know it sounds like a ridiculous story, but it's true. But then there are people that get involved part-time like I did. And I was a pretty aggressive young guy at 23. And then my second year, I doubled my full-time income. And I'm like, what am I doing? I ought to put more time into my part-time business. And that's what I did and never looked back. So there are people who say, you know what? I really want to make this happen. I want to make 200,000 or 300,000 a year. I got no chance of doing that at my present job. I don't have the skill set. I mean, let's face it, unless you're maybe an anesthesiologist, a specialized surgeon, where are you going to make two, three, $400,000 a year? Okay. The answer is almost no place, especially without if whether you have an education or not, right? I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But so it just varies because people's aspirations change over time. They may put their toe in the water at first, start learning the business, and then say, you know what? I could really do this. I really like what I'm doing here. And before you know it, they're making 10, 15, $20,000 a month. Um, and I know that sounds like a lot of money, but it's not hype. It's real.
Mhm.
What
Just
makes
to
you
add
guys
to that,
different? What makes you guys different within the industry?
I think one of the biggest things, in my opinion, is it's easy to pepper the country with high contracts. Because in this bit, I mean, it's a multiple trillion-dollar industry. There is plenty of money to be made. So you can call carriers and get street level contracts, which are, 90, usually 90 plus percent. Sometimes they're as high as like 100 and 105% contracts on certain products. But all that company will do is say, okay, here's your contract, go write business. And you're back in the same scenario
Yep.
where, oh, I did really well. I wrote, I don't know, 100 policies last year. That's fantastic. Guess what you have to do next year? You have to write another 100. So yeah, if you work your referral market adequately, that's not really a challenge. But the thing is, the spigot can turn off when you stop.
Yep.
So what makes us different is, do we have the highest contracts in the world? No. But our system is designed for people to replicate their efforts into other people. So that way, eventually, you don't have to write business. Like, for example, the highest earner in our organization last year, he made about 18 million. He hasn't wrote a policy in 15 years.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Now, 18 million is an extravagant, but there's
Right, 25 people make $1 million
yeah.
in 12 months. We have a number of people make over 100,000. And that's because of our system. And as Andrew alluded to, because when you look at an agency, Alan, they're not geared for agency building.
No.
They're geared for, like Andrew said, go write business. They don't help you do that. We have a system. And when you asked me early on, Neil, I said, I mentor people. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Most people in our industry are dressed up with no place to go.
Yep.
They've got the knowledge, they got the license, but they can't make any money because they don't have, they'll say, well, I need a lead system. You really don't. What you need is the motivation and understanding that if I attract you to say, yeah, I'd like to do this with you, you know people that I don't know. By virtue of me helping you, I help myself, right? And I have a natural lead source instead of a cold lead source that they don't know me. There's no trust there. There's no So it's always a kind of a fight, so to speak, you know. Now, there are a lot of people that just go out there and produce business, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to do it every year.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it that way. So I've been fortunate to have a six-figure income for my entire career and multiple at one point. And now, I mean, I haven't written personal business. I think I've done 3 or 4 cases in the last 10 years, but I still make well over six figures every year because of the agency that I built and mentoring of other people in the business. Okay.
Such a good point. So you mentioned earlier that the system allowed you to grow at extreme rates. Why is it different than any other organizations that also grow?
I think there's levels to that because, you could consider growth in different avenues. You could consider growth. I made $5 more than I did last year. But where we look at it is our business focuses on growth with people because we don't really sell anything. So when we get on a presentation, whether it's for a potential new person to work with us or somebody who knows they just want to look at what we're doing and not really consider joining us, we're not selling, we're just educating. We're saying, hey, look, the vast majority of people in the world have this. Wouldn't you rather have this, which gives you all of this extra stuff and you don't spend any more money? By the end of the call, they're like, well, I need to do that. I didn't sell them anything. I just showed you, hey, this is the alternative that has existed for a very long time. And one of the guys we work with, he does really well with his opportunity meetings that he hosts weekly. And one of the things that he says a lot is it's backed up by 100-year-old IRS code. It is. The program itself has not been around 100 years, but the code that allows for it to happen has been around 100 years. For example, Walt Disney, when he started Disney, he went to a few different banks and said, I need X amount of money in the loan. And they all said no. Well, he used the program that we educate people on to start Disney. I think that was a pretty good decision. It's pretty profitable now. So that really is the reason for the growth. One, our system is simple. It's 3 steps, and we don't sell. We just teach.
Yeah.
And by us teaching, people go, I really need to do that because it's not always about making money. Like, yes, we don't work for free, but we're doing good things for people. It's this, Alan has probably told his story about why he got into this business many times. That's all we're trying to do is help people. And because of the industry that we're in, it's lucrative.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, Neil. We transact business, of course. But what we do is what everybody really needs. Okay. So when you look at the world of our lives, right? What's the most important asset you have in your life? If you don't mind me asking you.
The most important asset in my life, family.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. People will say, I mean, I'm saying from a financial standpoint, people will say, well, my boat or my
My
house
home or whatever,
or
or
my
my car.
401k.
Yeah, maybe.
But the truth is, your most important asset is your income because your income is what provides all those other things. Without income, none of those other things exist. Now, when I say that, sometimes people say, well, does that mean insurance, like life insurance? Well, yeah, if you're thinking you might die young, yeah. Okay. Should people own life insurance? Of course they should. You never know if you're going to die prematurely. But the fact is, most people won't die prematurely. What we market is just the opposite. We're saying, well, what if you got sick? What if you got a heart attack, stroke, cancer, but you didn't die? Does the life insurance really help you? No, not unless you die. You got to fully commit to a life insurance plan for it to pay. But what we do is we talk to people about living benefits. Nobody's exempt from illness. Kids get juvenile diabetes, kids get cancer, people have heart attacks, women get breast cancer, guys get prostate cancer. People, it's all around us, right? And those we provide benefits for and I know maybe this isn't a direct answer to your question, but I think it's important for you to know. Like I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day. I just called to say hello because it looked like he lost some weight. I hadn't talked to him in a while. He says, "Yeah, I have. I lost 100 pounds." I said, "Oh, was that by design?" He said, "No, I had a stroke." Now he can't work. He had to take his Social Security early. He's only getting about 3,000 a month, and he forgot that he had living benefits from what we talked about 10 or 12 years ago. Well, he didn't realize he had a $250,000 policy, and he's probably going to get a check for about 200,000. I mean, I pretty near changed his whole retirement life by calling him.
Yeah.
So that's the value that we do now. You couple that with opportunity. Are you getting that piece? You got something that everybody needs, and we got an opportunity that will pay you as much money as you're willing to work for to get it together. That's why we grow 30, 40% a year.
Okay.
Or have been.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great concept, but why isn't it used in other places?
Well,
Say,
why is the concept of our growth model not used in other places?
good question.
Mostly because, and this is, I'm going to throw a little bit of an opinion on here, and I think it's because in some cases it's not as lucrative for the top end of the organization to do it that way. I was talking to a guy that had some interest in our business, and he was a little skeptical on the exit strategy portion because he was a part of another organization that got sold for really big money, and he hit all the bogeys he was supposed to hit to participate, and he got a check for $256, and it sold for north of 400 million.
Yeah.
So part of it is what Ron Blumenkemper, who I mentioned earlier, he says this a lot on when he's on a call. He says, "How many people do you know have sold a business for, $80 million, let alone give away $80 million?" So that is a concept that people don't adopt because it's expensive to adopt. And you really have to put the work in to build an organization to a point that it's valuable enough to get a large multiple in terms of a sale, and then be willing to give some of it away. Or in our case, give half of it away.
Yeah. Now you don't have to give it away, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot more attractive if you do. People like working for equity, and they don't have to buy the equity, they earn the equity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just to add to that, there's the reason why, Alan, not everybody gets this. They say, well, I could get 120% contract. Okay. Yeah, so could I. And I made an evaluation 13 years ago. I said, look, I had 130% contracts, and said, okay, but I want to build an agency. What do I need now? I need people on payroll. I need compliance. I need licensure in all 50 states. I need to be able to provide support for those people. I evaluated that. That had to be at least 20 or 30 points. Well, FEG pays 115 points to the field all in. So to me, it made more sense not to have all that compliance support because the company does that, meaning FEG does that. So I could focus on what I need to focus on, which is building a business. Okay. So people think contract, but how does that translate to dollars? So this may sound a little harsh, but sometimes people say to me, well, I got 120% contract. Okay, well, how much money did you make last year? Well, I made, $30,000. So what'd the contract do for you? It's not contracts that make you money. It's systems that allow you to multiply your business that makes you money.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's what we've done in the financial service world.
So why do people say no?
Great question. Uh, Truthfully, in my humble opinion, it's because they don't believe they can do it. They see it and they see something that requires a license, and they've never done anything like this before. Maybe they're an engineer, or maybe they're a janitor, or maybe they're, the, and they don't think they can do it. So rather than try, people are like water. They take the route of least resistance. Okay. And then there are people that say yes, but then they don't do anything or they don't move on their action. Kind of like New Year's resolutions, right? How many people make a resolution, say, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym. And by the 7th of the month, they no longer go to the gym.
Mhm.
Okay. So, but that's good news, Neil. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we don't want everybody to do it. You understand what I'm saying? We want people who truly want to do it and understand the value of what we're providing
I
to
got it.
do it. Okay. So there are times where we say no
Yeah.
because they don't fit the mold. They don't, what I mean is they don't fit our goal of what we're trying to do. They don't want to follow the system. You know, we were talking about football a little bit earlier, real quick. I'll digress here. Go to the Patriots as an athlete and talk to Mike Vrabel and say, no, here's how I want to do it. I'm not coming to practice every day. You know what I'm saying? And Sundays, I'm only going to play at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. I'm not playing Thursday nights. I don't really want to play you get my point, right? You're going nowhere. Okay. I don't care how good of an athlete you are. If you can't follow a system with leadership, it's not going to work and it's going to hurt the organization. So
Definitely.
that's the same way it is with us. So it's real simple. We brought a team concept, if you will, into the financial services world.
Totally.
Al, I got one last question for you. I've always been told your net worth is going to be your 5 closest friends. You've become a friend of mine, and I like to hang around successful people. And when you told me about this concept and what you accomplished with that buyout, kind of explain a little bit more about that buyout. How long did it take to get that buyout going?
Okay, good question. When I first joined Ron Blumenkipper in 2012, he told me, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a company like we did prior to. I wasn't part of his prior company. He said, and we're going to share 50% with the field. Well, I believed him. I believed him because when Ron Blumenkemper, he's a man of the people. He understands. He's been in the trenches for years, so he knows who drives the bus. You follow me? And it's not the corporate office. It's the people out in the field. Because of that, I believed him. Because of that, I came to Texas, moved to Texas. Now, this is in 2012. Well, we moved here in 2014. The first equity piece was paid out in 2020, COVID year. December that year, Ron Blumenkemper decided to sell 30% of the company. He could have waited, but he felt that he needed to put some money in people's hands that have been working with him for the past, whatever, 8 or 10 years. So he sold 30% of it for 15 million, shared or 16 million, shared a little over 8 million with the field. About 135 of us, or 140 of us got checks. Okay, myself included, and I happened to get, I think I was number 5 in the company, so I got a pretty sizable check. Well, now everybody got fired up because now it became real. See, the concept of equity was just in the ether, but when it paid out, everybody went, wait a minute, I don't want to miss this thing. So the next 4 years, we grew at about 30 to 35% per year from that point. And then when Fidelity and Guarantee, owned by BlackRock, bought the rest of the 70%, well, they paid out 140 million, of which 70 million went to the field. So it didn't really take that long. Okay. Now, we have an opportunity now to do it even quicker than that because the appetite is to build something that does about 20 million in value. We actually did that last final year like 65 million. Okay. But this equity, what our plan is, Alan, is every 2.5 to 3 years, we're going to have an equity play for people that help us build it and people that we can help get to at least 50,000 a year in income, which is not hard to do in this business. If you'll listen and just take to a little coaching, let us show you what you need to do, then we get out of the way. You run with it as far as you want. But so I believe in the next 2 to 3 years, Alan, we're going to have another sizable payday that's going to go to our organization working together with Ron Blumenkemper. This isn't per se uh, countrywide for FEG. This is through Ron Blumenkemper and our organization. So it's, to me, it's even bigger than that. Okay. Because of the leverage we have in the marketplace. So we have people joining us like yourself that were great, that are great producers and said, you know what? Yeah, I'd really like to have a residual income. And oh, by the way, if I could get an equity play based on production, maybe 500,000, a million at the end of it all. And I know that sounds like pie in the sky, but it is not in this business. It's a
Right.
$7 trillion industry. So there's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, in the last round, just to add to that, the last round that paid out, it was about a year and a half or so ago. There was a couple guys who got $4 or $5 million checks. One guy got 8 million. You know, bunch of. Do you know how many people in total got paid out? I know it was a lot more than
It was about
140.
460.
Okay, so let's take that back 4 years. There was we'll call it 140 people who got checks.
Yeah.
4 years later, after everybody saw, like guys like Al and other people walk across a stage and get a big check, they go, I can't miss the next one. So that tripled over the next 4 years of people who qualified to receive the equity, which is the same kind of concept we're talking about. Earn at least 50,000 a year in income. Then it was earn 100,000 a year in income.
Yeah, Alan, I talked to an agent the other day who's with another organization who are promising to take their company public.
Mm.
And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that story. Okay, first of all, it costs a lot of money to go public. You got to bring in investment bankers. I mean, it's not an easy ordeal. But they believe that he said you got to make 1 million a year to be part of the IPO. Now, okay, now think about that for a second. And they think they're going to have 1,000 people do that. Well, I can tell you, we had 460 that earned 100,000 or more. The feat of most people getting to 1 million, okay, if we translate it to FEG, it's 25 people made over $1 million. That's it. Nobody else would have got anything. That's not enough. Now, you can't give it to everybody because it would dilute it,
Right.
but you got to bring it down a little bit where it's reachable for people to have a chance to achieve it. And that's why I think, we've got where the cats meow right now. That doesn't mean everybody's going to join us, but we've got the right story with the right company backing. And I mean, look, is there anybody bigger than BlackRock? I mean, as far as, financial
They own
capital,
everything.
they're in
Yeah.
the chain at the top somewhere. They own a company called Peak, uh, which is where F&G comes into play. And I won't get into the weeds on that, but it's a big deal. It's a very big deal.
Well, thanks,
All right.
guys.
Best place
Appreciate
people
it.
can find information on this opportunity. Where can they go?
Oh,
You can
There's-
go
Go ahead. You can
go ahead, Andrew.
Well, one, obviously they can, because being we're on Alan's podcast, they can send a quick inquiry to Alan and he can get a call set up together. We're working on putting together a landing page, which is about 85% complete. That'll be ready by the first of the year. that people can pop into, learn a little bit more about it, and then, of course, get in contact with us to start getting involved. But, the easiest way to do it is reach out to who you can reach out to now.
Reach
So
out to Alan. By
reach
doing
out to
what, Alan?
Alan, send him an email. If you are lucky enough to have his phone number, send him a text, give him a call.
Yeah.
I don't want to put him on blast in front of all this.
No, he
He
always blasts it. Go
You
ahead,
can
Alan.
always call me at 910-551-1046. My website.
And understand we work together, right? So Alan, if you're busy, no problem. You just pass that to Andrew like you did yesterday.
Yep.
You pass somebody on to Andrew, an hour later, he's in our business.
Yep.
Okay? It's teamwork. We work together, right? I mean, if we work together, we all win. I mean, maybe that sounds like a cliche, but it's not in our business. It's real.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Right. So Alan, go ahead and tell us where best places we can contact you, Alan.
Again, 910-551-1046. You can always go to my website. I have a plethora of information there. It's strategicwealthstrategies.com. And you can always email me at strategicwealth0@gmail.com.
All right.
I look forward to talking to people, educating them, and giving them an opportunity of a lifetime.
It's huge. And remember that that's the name of the game. And the opportunity for people seeing, wow, I think you could grow with these guys. And if you see how successful Alan is and these two gentlemen, this is something for you guys to consider. Appreciate it, guys. That was the Strategic Wealth Strategy Podcast. You're welcome.